I'm Mason Mount. You're listening to the London is Blue podcast.
So, Naz, let's talk about some of these things that are getting Chelsea supporters, us included, excited. I think the first one, or the one that is on the top of everybody's mind, is Kai Havertz, the Leverkusen star who has played in center forward, who's played on the wing, who's played in attacking mid, who has scored boatloads of goals and is seemingly wanting to push his way into the Premier League, into Chelsea, get an opportunity to play with maybe some of his German compatriots in Timo Werner next season, Antonio Rudiger. Where do you understand that deal to be? Because I think people are kind of freaking out that it hasn't happened as quickly as some of these other deals, but to me, that maybe is more just because there's not a release clause and it's going to be a negotiation because of that. But is there any other thing that maybe Chelsea fans need to be concerned about?
Yeah, you're right. It's because there's not a release clause, and I guess, Chelsea is still playing as well, which kind of slows it down a little bit. But yeah, there's no need to be concerned at all. It's just a case of Chelsea spending the money and agreeing a fee, and that's what we're at now. Kai Havertz wants to move. He's chosen Chelsea effectively. That's the only choice. The only choice for him is Leverkusen or Chelsea. So he wants Chelsea. So, it's down to Chelsea to agree a fee with Leverkusen. They set a high price tag. I think that it will ultimately come down. Their price tag is like £90 million. I think it works out about 100 million euros, even more US dollars. So I think that's the issue there, and Chelsea have got to negotiate down or try to as best they can. But he's a special talent, and I think it's seen as an opportunity by Chelsea. It's an absolute priority, even though probably they'd rather have a centre back of Kai Havertz quality. They probably want a 21-year-old centre back to come in and fix the defensive problems. But he is so good that they just have to go for it. It's like when they signed Eden Hazard. It'll be one of those real impactful signings. Everyone in German football knows that he is the man. I mean, maybe even more so than Timo Werner. He's just a superstar in the making, and probably already is a superstar. So I think that's the way Chelsea see this situation, and they see it as like a clear run. And if there was competition, maybe Chelsea would have to act quicker. And like you said, release clauses, great, easy. You get the deal done pretty quickly, and that's what they've done. But for the next targets Chelsea are going to go for, that we're going to talk about in this pod, including Kai Havertz, it's going to be a battle. It's going to be longer, and it might be ugly at times. But that's what happens when you do a great big transfer. Is that we've seen it time and again. They're sagas. They call them transfer sagas. They're not join. So it's a case of that, really. I think Chelsea fans should be excited, stay optimistic, wait for the process to go through. It might be frustrating at times. There might be briefings that are negative, but ultimately I can see this deal. I think that it will get done. I'm very positive about that.
So you're telling me just because I signed Kai Havertz on FIFA career mode that it's not as easy as that? Because my negotiating skills were top tier. I delegated it, and it just came back as like a £70 million transfer. So I was feeling pretty good.
You hit the X button 3 times?
Yeah, pretty much. It is interesting, Naz, because obviously, this is all kind of framed in the world of the most expensive transfer Chelsea's ever made, right? Because it will effectively be that, unless it comes in under whatever Kepa's final number was. I think I would just want to say, it's a lot of money. Even if Chelsea are flush with cash and have a bunch of reserve funds from the last couple of years and not spending, you still have to be shrewd about how you spend. You're not just going to go out and say, hey, I want that player, whatever it costs, because every negotiation that you do impacts future negotiations. If other teams know that you can be had from a negotiating standpoint, they're going to come in at 3-4x times valuations of the players. And so I do want to throw that out because it makes an impact on how you go after future talent.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the reason that the fee will come down, I mean, if Chelsea wanted it done, they would have just paid the bigger money and it would be done by now. But that's not how Chelsea operate. Remember, Chelsea's a business, and Marina, fights for every million, literally every million. I've heard about deals that are like Chelsea trying to sell a player. he's maybe, you know, the buying club thinks he's worth about 3 million. He's never going to play for Chelsea in a million years. Absolutely no chance. But they're still asking for 10 million. They still want 10 million. And it seems like a crazy number for that buying club. You know, it might be a Dutch club. I think Marco van Ginkel was in a situation like this with PSV Eindhoven. And they were getting quoted 10 million, and to them that was an absolutely crazy fee. But Chelsea didn't move on it, and that's the way they work in buying players as well. They will try and drive the price down. But I think the reason why I'll be optimistic about the price coming down is that, can Leverkusen sell Havertz for the same amount of money next summer? No. Chelsea is an opportunity for Leverkusen. Chelsea is the best option for Leverkusen. Ultimately, they want to do a deal because this is the way they're going to get the most money for Havertz. So, I think that, you know, if there was competition, it might drive the price up, but there's not. And then this summer is probably the best time to sell somebody like him. So that's why I'm so confident that this deal will get done in a decent way as well for Chelsea.
Yeah, it feels like the Venn diagram of overlapping kind of interests is starting to move, where they're basically one circle for Leverkusen and for Chelsea. You know, talking though about how he comes into the squad, how important do you think a transfer like this, of this caliber, of this individual, is for taking Chelsea and upgrading Chelsea's talent for the next season? Because I think there's that question, is like, why are Chelsea going after Havertz when we have to go fix the defense? And we'll talk about a couple of those defenders maybe that we're targeting shortly. But I think people are concerned that we're going after Havertz and we're going to spend all this money here when we've got other glaring problems. Is this more, you just have to go for the player because he's available, or there actually is a need that he is going to plug and fill immediately?
Yeah, I don't think there is a need, actually. It's a kind of strange one, because, you know, attacking midfielders, Chelsea pretty decent. I think Mount, we've all think had a really good season. Some people say, I saw Matt Law, the Telegraph writer, he said that he was his player of the season. I think that, you know, there's not a desperate need. Havertz might step in his shoes a little bit. He can play in the, probably, you know, say Chelsea play the front three, he can play in the front three, he can play in central midfield in a three-man midfield, probably not a two-man midfield. And he could play striker at a push, probably false nine type thing. I think that's where Havertz fits, and he's a great goal scorer from midfield. He's elegant is the word that people always use for him. And he's very quick as well. It's strange to see a central midfielder who has speed as his attribute, but he can run in behind defences. People compare him to Michael Ballack and Mesut Ozil, which is strange because those two players are very different, but it just shows you what a unique package of a footballer Kai Havertz is. He's got immense technical ability. He's a finisher, and he's also powerful. He's quick and tall. This guy has it all. He's also a good-looking lad. So I'm like, man, is there anything you can't do? 21 years old, humble kid as well, works very hard. He bring that German mentality. There'll be a few Germans in the Chelsea squad next season. He ticks absolutely every box as a central midfielder, as a potential Chelsea squad man. I think that it's just a unique opportunity. I think Chelsea, this is the kind of player that literally every club in Europe would want, and this is why Chelsea want him. I think Real Madrid really want him. Bayern Munich really want him. We know that, but they just can't get in there. They can't afford it. So Chelsea need to act now as well. So that's why this transfer will happen. They can't wait. They have to act now, just to make sure there's no competition. Havertz really wants to move because he wants to take his game to the next level, and he sees the Premier League and Chelsea as that spot where he can do that, because he knows that Leverkusen can only take him so far.